5 alien girls plead with a lonely human. Save me, take me with you. The relay station floated alone in the dark like a forgotten thought drifting between stars. Relay station K-47 had no windows facing anything important. No nearby planets, no busy trade lanes. No bright suns, only long stretches of quiet space broken by distant stars that looked the same every day. The station's job was simple: listen, record, forward data, nothing more. Elias Ward had been stationed there for 3 years of silence. He woke at the same time every day, checked the same systems, drank the same recycled coffee, and walked the same narrow corridors. The station hummed softly around him, a constant mechanical breathing that had become more familiar than his own thoughts. Elias was not a soldier. He was not a hero, he was not even important, he was an engineer. Humanity sent people like Elias where excitement was not needed, where patience mattered more than courage, where nothing was supposed to happen, and most of the time nothing did. He worked alone, no crew. No AI with a personality, just basic systems and a silent command interface. Messages from Earth arrived once every few weeks, short, professional, and empty of emotion. Status check complete. All systems nominal. Continue monitoring. That was life at K-47. Elias had learned how to live with loneliness. He talked to himself sometimes, quietly, just to hear a human voice. He named the maintenance drones even though they could not answer. He kept an old photo of Earth pinned above his sleep pod, a blue sky, green trees, people smiling at something outside the frame. He could not remember their names anymore. Still, he stayed. Someone had to listen. That cycle had been like all the others until the alert sounded. It was not loud, it was not dramatic, just a soft tone that did not belong. Elias froze, his hand still resting on a diagnostic panel. "That's not right," he said aloud. The relay was set to ignore most noise, background radiation, random signals, old automated beacons. Only very specific frequencies triggered alerts. Slowly, carefully, Elias walked to the central console. The screen displayed a signal origin, unknown vessel, non-registered design, trajectory, unstable. The location made his stomach tighten. "That's impossible," Elias whispered. No ship should have been there. The sector was empty by design, too far from coalition routes, too useless for smugglers, too quiet for explorers. He opened the signal data. At first it looked broken, fragments, overlapping sound waves, static cutting through language. Then the system auto-translated. Elias' breath caught. It was not one voice, it was 5. They spoke at the same time in panic and fear, their words crashing into each other like waves. "Please." The transmission cut off. Silence returned, heavier than before. Elias stared at the screen, his heart beating fast. He replayed the message, again and again. 5 voices, alien voices. The Coalition database identified partial matches, different species, different speech patterns. They should not have been together, they should not have been near human space, and yet they were calling him. Elias leaned back in his chair. "Okay," he said quietly. "Okay. Let's think." Protocol was clear, he knew it by memory. Do not engage, do not respond, report to command. Wait. He opened the reporting channel and began to type. Then he stopped. His eyes drifted back to the last line of the translation. "Save me, not us, me." As if each voice believed they were alone. Elias closed the report window. He hated that part of himself, the part that always questioned rules, but it had never gone away. It was the same part that had kept him human out here when everything else felt empty. He adjusted the relay's sensors and widened the scan range. It took several minutes. Then the system found it. The ship was small, too small for long-distance travel. Its hull was damaged, energy readings unstable. Life support barely active, 5 life signs all weak. "They're going to die," Elias said. No drama, no exaggeration, just fact. If he waited for command approval, it would take hours, maybe days. The ship did not have hours. Elias stood up. He walked to the docking controls. His hand hovered over the panel. If he did this, there would be consequences. Reports, questions, reviews, possibly removal from service. He thought about the silence, the years of listening and hearing nothing. He thought about 5 voices calling into the dark, hoping someone, anyone, would answer. Elias opened the docking bay. The relay extended its guidance beam, a soft pulse of light cutting through space. The alien ship drifted slowly, unsteadily, like something exhausted. When it finally locked into place, the station shuddered slightly, as if surprised to be needed. Elias suited up and waited by the airlock. The inner door sealed, pressure equalized. The outer door opened. The ship inside was nothing like human design. Smooth curves, dull colors, emergency lights flickering weakly. It felt quiet, not empty, but afraid. Elias stepped inside carefully. "Hello," he called out. There was no answer. He followed the life signs to the central compartment. They were there, 5 figures huddled together. They were different from each other, different heights, skin textures, shapes, but all shared the same expression. Wide eyes, tight posture, fear held in fragile control. They looked younger than him, not children, but not hardened adults either. One of them raised her head slowly. She spoke in broken human standard, her voice shaking. "Human, you came." Elias removed his helmet slowly, showing his face. "Yes," he said, "I came." They stared at him like he was unreal. Another spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. "You are alone?" "Yes." That surprised them even more. The first one swallowed. "Our people said humans do not care, humans take and leave." Elias felt something twist inside his chest. "Sometimes," he said honestly, "but not always." Silence stretched. Finally, one of them asked the question that mattered most. "Will you send us back?" Elias looked at them, at the fear they tried to hide, at the way they leaned toward each other like the only safety left in the universe was shared warmth. "No," he said. They did not believe him at first. "Will you help us?" another asked. Elias nodded. "Yes." A sound escaped them, not a word, not a cry. Relief released all at once. One of them whispered, almost afraid to hope. "Save me, take me with you." Elias met her eyes. "You're safe here," he said. "All of you?" The relay station, once the loneliest place in human space, was no longer empty, and the galaxy had just made a mistake. Because it had called the wrong species for help, Elias noticed it the moment he sealed the airlock behind him. The quiet was still there, but it was no longer empty. There were soft sounds now, movement, unfamiliar breathing patterns, the low hum of alien life support devices syncing with human systems. For the first time in 3 years, Elias was not alone. He guided the 5 aliens carefully through the corridor. They walked slowly, unsure of the metal floor, their eyes moving everywhere at once. The station lights reflected off skin tones and textures Elias had only seen in data files. They stayed close together. Elias did not blame them. "You're safe here," he said again, keeping his voice calm. "The station atmosphere is stable. You can breathe normally." One of them hesitated before removing a small breathing device from her face. She took a careful breath, then another. Her shoulders relaxed slightly. "It is clean," she said in careful human standard. Elias nodded. "We try." He led them into the medical bay. It was small, designed for 1 human, not 5 aliens, but it would do. The auto scanner activated, projecting soft blue light over them. "Please stand still," Elias said. "This won't hurt." The aliens exchanged looks. One of them, tall, with smooth silver-gray skin, stepped forward first. "If this is a trap," she said quietly, "we understand." Elias looked up sharply. "A trap?" "Yes," another said. Her skin shifted colors slightly, reacting to stress. "Some species pretend kindness. It is more efficient than force." Elias felt something cold settle in his chest. "This isn't a trap," he said firmly. "I don't gain anything by hurting you." They watched his face closely, as if searching for cracks in his words. Finally, the scanner finished. It chimed softly. Elias read the results: malnutrition, dehydration, exhaustion, long-term stress indicators, nothing fatal yet. "You've been drifting for a while," Elias said. The smallest of them nodded. "Long enough for our ship to stop hoping." That sentence stayed with him. He prepared nutrient packs adjusted for each species, guided by the scanner's recommendations. The aliens accepted them carefully, as if expecting the food to disappear. As they ate, Elias sat on a bench across from them. "My name is Elias," he said. "Elias Ward." They looked at one another again, then back at him. "I am Lyra," said the one with silver-gray skin. "I am Nemi," said the color-shifting one. "Sail," said another, her voice calm but tired. "Vesha," said the fourth, who had not spoken much. The smallest hesitated, then said softly, "I am Talai." Elias nodded to each of them. "You're welcome here," he said again. There was a long pause. Then Lyra asked the question Elias knew was coming. "Why did you answer?" Elias leaned back, thinking. "Because you called," he said simply. "That is not enough," Nemi said gently. "No one else answered. Many heard us." Elias looked down at his hands. "I don't know what it's like where you come from," he said. "But humans, we have a rule. If someone asks for help and you can help, you should." Sail tilted her head. "Even if it costs you?" Elias met her gaze. "Especially then." The room was very quiet. Talai stared at him with wide eyes. That rule, is it rare? Elias gave a small smile. It's not perfect, we don't always follow it, but it exists. They finished eating slowly. Afterward, Elias showed them the living quarters he had converted from storage. It was not much: simple beds, soft lighting, temperature controls, but it was warm. Vesha touched the wall gently. No one prepares a place for us, she said. Not usually. Elias frowned. Why? The five exchanged looks again, this time heavier. Lyra spoke. We are what our systems call excess. Elias did not understand. Excess? Yes, Sale said, when resources are limited and efficiency must be preserved. Nemi continued, her voice steady but distant. Our societies value balance, contribution, optimization. Talai lowered her head. Those who do not fit the balance are removed. Elias felt his chest tighten. You mean exiled? Lyra nodded. Legally abandoned. The words felt sharp. They put us together because it was cheaper than individual disposal, Nemi said. Elias stood very still. Disposal, he repeated. It sounds worse in your language, Vesha said quietly. In ours it is neutral. Elias walked to the console and pulled up coalition law databases. He searched quickly. The doctrine appeared on his screen. Resource Preservation Mandate. Humanity had not signed this doctrine, he knew that much. He looked at them. You came to human space on purpose, didn't you? Lyra nodded. There were stories, rumors, that humans are irrational. Elias almost laughed. They said humans adopt strangers, Nemi said. That you keep those who slow you down. Talai whispered. That humans are lonely and do not like to be alone. Elias swallowed. So you gambled everything, he said, on a rumor. Yes, Lyra said, because no one else would even see us. The station lights hummed softly. Elias looked at the five aliens standing in his quiet corridor, alive only because they had believed something good about humans. I need to report your presence, he said slowly. Eventually. Fear flickered across their faces. But not yet, he added. First, you rest. You recover, then we figure out what comes next together. Sale studied him. You speak as if we have choices. You do, Elias said. At least here. Later, after they were settled, Elias returned to the command console. He opened a private channel. He did not send it. Instead, he opened a new file and began documenting everything. The distress call, the doctrine, the condition of the five aliens, their legal status. He worked carefully, methodically, like an engineer, because this was not just rescue anymore. This was proof. Behind him, soft voices drifted through the corridor, quiet conversation, hesitant laughter. Life. Relay Station K-47 was no longer just listening, it was witnessing. And somewhere in the vast systems of the galaxy, a rule built on efficiency was about to meet a species built on stubborn compassion. Relay Station K-47 had never held secrets before. Everything that happened there was recorded, time-stamped, and sent forward. That was its purpose. Transparency, order, quiet efficiency. Now it held five lives that were never meant to be seen again. Elias felt the weight of that as he sat at the command console, staring at the blinking indicator that reminded him, again and again, that he was overdue for a status update. Behind him, the station was awake in a way it never had been. Soft footsteps echoed. Doors opened and closed. Voices, low, careful voices, moved through the corridors like something fragile learning to exist. He turned from the console and walked toward the common area. The five aliens sat together around the small table Elias usually used alone. He had brought out extra lighting and adjusted the gravity slightly to make it easier for them. They were sharing a nutrient drink, passing it slowly between them, talking quietly. They looked up when he entered. You are worried, Sale said. Elias stopped. Is it that obvious? Yes, Nemi replied, her skin shifted faintly, reacting to his mood. You are thinking about consequences. Elias sat down across from them. I should have reported you already, he said honestly. Talai's hands tightened around the cup. Will you? She asked. Elias took a breath. Eventually, but not like this. Lyra studied him closely. You are delaying a required action that carries penalties. Yeah, Elias said. Humans are very good at that. They did not smile, not yet. Elias leaned forward. I need to understand something. Why were you chosen? Vesha answered quietly. We were inconvenient. In what way? Elias asked. We did not fail, Sale said. We simply did not excel fast enough. Nemi nodded. I was reassigned 3 times. Each time my output was acceptable, not exceptional. Lyra added. My species values leadership efficiency. I asked too many questions. Talai's voice was barely audible. I required care longer than expected. Elias felt his hands curl into fists. So you were removed, he said. Yes, Vesha replied, cleanly, quietly, according to law. Elias stood up abruptly and walked back to the console. He pulled up human legal frameworks and placed them side by side with coalition doctrine. The difference was painful. Human law had exceptions, appeals, language about dignity, about responsibility, about protection. Coalition law had optimization charts. You know, Elias said more to himself than them, we have people back home who don't contribute much at all, elderly, sick, lost, some just tired. What happens to them? Talai asked. Elias turned. We build systems to help them live anyway. The silence that followed was heavy. That is inefficient, Nemi said carefully. Yeah, Elias agreed. We know. Lyra looked confused. Then why do it? Elias thought about Earth, about arguments, about taxes, about endless debates that never seemed to end. Because, he said slowly, we decided a long time ago that worth isn't measured only by output. Sale frowned. Then how is it measured? Elias hesitated. Sometimes, he said, by simply being alive. The words hung in the air. The station chimed softly. Incoming coalition ping detected. Automated presence scan scheduled. The 5 aliens froze. Talai's eyes widened. They found us. Not exactly, Elias said quickly. It's a routine scan, happens every few cycles. But they will see us, Vesha said. Yes, Elias replied. Which is why we need to decide what we're doing. He took a steadying breath. I can hide you temporarily, he said. Mask the life signs, delay the report. And after that? Sale asked. Elias looked at them, really looked. After that, he said, I tell the truth. Fear flickered again. They will take us back, Talai whispered. No, Elias said firmly. They'll have to talk to us first. Lyra stood. You are placing yourself against a system. Elias nodded. I know. That system is older than your species' presence in space, Nemi said. Also know that, Elias replied. Sale tilted her head. Then why do this? Elias did not answer right away. Finally, he said, because if I don't, no one will. The scan passed. Elias worked carefully, adjusting filters, recording everything. He did not erase data. He annotated it, cross-referenced it, marked legal gaps. This was not hiding, this was preparation. Later, Elias sat alone in his quarters, reviewing the draft report. He could still stop. One command, one transmission, the 5 would be transferred, processed, forgotten. He stared at the blinking cursor. Then he opened a private legal channel, one rarely used by stations this far out. He addressed it not to command, but to the Human Interstellar Ethics Board. He began typing. He wrote about the distress call, about the doctrine. About 5 lives deemed excess. About humanity's choice not to sign that doctrine. He attached recordings, scans, testimony. He ended the report with one simple line, if this is legal, then we need to decide if it is right. He sent it. The reply did not come immediately. Hours passed. The station lights dimmed to night cycle. Elias sat in the common area as the 5 aliens rested nearby. They slept lightly like people afraid the ground might disappear. Elias stayed awake. Finally, the console chimed. Incoming message, priority human channel. His heart raced. He opened it. The message was short. Report received. Jurisdiction acknowledged. You are not in violation of human law. Further instructions pending. Elias let out a long breath he did not realize he had been holding. He turned to see Lyra standing in the doorway. They did not punish you, she said. Not yet, Elias replied, but they didn't stop me either. Sale joined her. What does that mean? Elias smiled faintly. It means, he said, that humans have a rule no one else does. What rule? Talai asked softly, stepping closer. Elias looked at all 5 of them. When someone is abandoned, he said, we argue about it. They did not fully understand. But for the first time they believed, outside the stars did not change. But inside Relay Station K-47, something new had formed. Not a rebellion, not a battle. A question. And questions, Elias knew, were dangerous things. Elias could feel the weight of every decision he had made in the past 24 hours pressing on him like gravity. The relay station, normally silent and predictable, now buzzed with activity and tension. 5 alien lives depended on him, and if anyone discovered what he had done, well, the consequences could be serious. Yet, for the first time in years, he did not feel alone. The 5 aliens moved carefully around the station, examining everything with wonder and fear. Even the simplest details amazed them. The soft hum of the relay's engines, the artificial gravity that let them walk without floating, the way light fell evenly across the corridors. They had never experienced human living spaces before. Their own societies had been functional, sterile, efficient, but cold. Elias had created comfort not for himself but for them. Vesha spoke first that morning, her voice low and uncertain. We never expected anyone to help us, not like this." Elias smiled faintly, adjusting one of the life support monitors. "Most species don't, but humans, we sometimes do what no one expects. We take risks for others. We don't always get it right, but we try." Lyra looked at him with a curious tilt of her head. Why risk yourself for strangers?" he shrugged. "I don't know, maybe it's stubbornness, maybe it's loneliness, maybe it's just human nature. When someone calls for help, we feel that call in a way other species do not." Talai, the smallest of the group, whispered, "We did not know humans could be kind." "Kind is not the same as safe," Elias said, keeping his tone careful. "I could still get in trouble, but I made a choice, that's all." The aliens absorbed that quietly. None had expected someone to explain motives so plainly, without arrogance or hesitation. Elias had no reason to be heroic, yet here he was, making choices that were both dangerous and compassionate. Suddenly, the relay chimed. The five stiffened. "Incoming coalition scan," Elias said. "Routine probably, but it could reveal everything." They froze. Panic rippled through them like a sudden chill. Elias raised his hand. "It's okay. We prepared for this." He moved quickly to the central console, typing in override codes. Lights blinked as the relay masked the 5 life signs, blending them with the station's background readings. For a few tense minutes, the aliens watched him work, barely daring to breathe. Then the alert ended. "They did not detect you," Elias said. "For now." "But that does not last forever." Sale looked down at her hands. "And when they do," Elias exhaled slowly, "we'll face that when the time comes, but I have a plan." He paused, considering how much to reveal. Finally, he said, "I've already started documenting everything. Your condition, your species, your circumstances, all of it, and I'm sending it to human authorities." "Authorities?" Lyra asked, her eyes wide. "Yes," Elias replied, "not to get you in trouble, to protect you. To make sure that when they discover you, they see that humans chose to save lives, not just obey rules." The room went quiet. Even the humming of the station seemed muted. They were trying to process this. That one human, alone in a forgotten outpost, had deliberately chosen to go against the expectations of the galaxy to protect them. Talai broke the silence. "We did not know this could happen. Not ever." "Humans sometimes surprise the galaxy," Elias said, sitting down beside them. "Most of the time, not in ways anyone notices, but when someone cares enough, even one person, it changes everything." They looked at him in silence. The words were simple, but the meaning was profound. None of them had been treated as individuals in a long time. Here they were seen, valued, respected. Then came another alert, this one different, sharper, faster, a reminder of reality. "Energy fluctuations," Elias muttered. "Your ship is unstable. We need to stabilize it before it fails completely." Lyra's voice wavered. "Will we survive this?" "You already survived worse," Elias said. "And now we work together. I can fix this." The aliens moved with him, tentative but determined. They had no experience with human technology, but they followed instructions, careful and precise. Elias felt a faint spark of pride, odd considering it was survival work, not engineering accolades. These 5 beings, considered useless by their own societies, were learning, adapting, surviving. Hours passed in tense focus. Elias adjusted power outputs, rerouted life support, and carefully monitored the aliens' health. They watched and mimicked, asking questions when unsure, learning in silence. For a brief, fragile moment, the station felt alive in a way it never had before. By late cycle, the work was complete. The 5 were safe, their ship systems temporarily stabilized. The station hummed steadily around them. Vesha looked at Elias. "Why do you continue to risk yourself?" He shrugged. "Because someone had to, because no one else would, because I don't like leaving people behind." Sale tilted her head. This is not what our people teach. We are supposed to obey, to follow rules." "Yes," Elias said, "but humans sometimes don't. We decide, we argue, we debate, we act." Nemi's skin shifted softly in thought. "This is a new way, not one we expected." "New ways are dangerous," Elias replied. "But sometimes necessary." For a long while, no one spoke. The 5 aliens sat quietly, contemplating what had just happened. They had been abandoned before, told they were not worth the effort of saving. Now a human had risked his own safety simply to protect them. That reality was difficult to comprehend. Finally, Talai spoke. "Then we can choose?" "Yes," Elias said. "You can choose, you stay here, you leave, you help me run this station, or you find another path, but for now you are not alone." They stared at him. The offer, so simple and human, seemed impossible. None had been given choices like this for their entire lives. I do not understand," Lyra said softly. "Why would a human do this for 5 strangers?" "Because I can," Elias said, shrugging again. "And because it is the right thing to do." Silence settled, but it was comfortable, not tense. The station's hum sounded almost like a heartbeat now. Elias realized that for the first time in years he was not alone, not just physically, but in purpose. Someone else's survival depended on his choices, and in helping them he had found something he had not realized he needed: connection. The next cycle brought a soft chime from the console. Message incoming, coalition monitoring protocol. Elias froze, heart pounding. The scan was closer than expected. It could reveal everything. He turned to the aliens. "Stay calm, trust me." They nodded, fear clear but restrained. Elias quickly activated additional filters and masking protocols. His hands moved with precision, honed by years of lonely work. Minutes felt like hours, then the alert ended. No detection. For a moment the station returned to quiet. "You are very careful," Lyra said, admiration clear in her voice. "I have to be," Elias replied. "This isn't just about you. It's about making a statement. Humanity has a rule no one else has. That rule is simple. We argue for life. We fight for life even if it costs us." The aliens exchanged looks. They were beginning to understand. Humans were different, not stronger, not faster, not more powerful, but capable of something the galaxy rarely saw: deliberate, thoughtful compassion. As the station rotated slowly in orbitless space, Elias watched the 5 settle near the central observation window. Outside, stars stretched endlessly, cold and indifferent. Inside, life glimmered quietly, 5 beings rescued from abandonment, and 1 human standing firmly in his choice. He leaned back in his chair, hands clasped, thinking. Every choice had a cost. If human authorities disagreed with him later, if the coalition discovered them, consequences would be real. Yet the cost of inaction, of letting them drift into oblivion, was unbearable. For the first time, Elias realized something important. True strength was not measured by power, speed, or obedience. It was measured by the courage to say yes when everyone else said no, by the ability to protect, to care, and to act even when rules and risk loomed large. The 5 aliens were no longer silent, no longer invisible. They had a protector, a choice, and slowly they began to see themselves as more than discarded pieces of their societies. For now, they were alive. They were valued. They were human in a way, given a chance to choose, given a chance to hope. And the galaxy, vast, cold, and ordered, would have to reckon with one undeniable truth. Humans, though fragile and often underestimated, could change everything. The hum of relay station K47 had changed. It was no longer the quiet, predictable place Elias had known. Every corner of the station seemed alive with possibility and tension. The 5 aliens moved cautiously but with a growing sense of trust, exploring their new environment under his guidance. And yet, beyond the station's shielding, the galaxy continued on its indifferent path. Elias knew that sooner or later, the galaxy would notice. The Coalition's automated monitoring systems were thorough and precise. They had detected the missing ship and 5 unregistered life forms in human space. It was only a matter of time before the relay's reports, or any unusual readings, would attract attention. And when that happened, Elias would not be the only one making choices. He was preparing for that moment now. Sitting at the central console, he reviewed the station's logs and communications once more. Every detail of the alien's condition, every scan, every life sign, everything was documented. He had sent encrypted copies to the Human Interstellar Ethics Board. It was a gamble. There was no protocol for this, no previous case. Just Elias, 5 exiled aliens, and a rule that humans followed but few others understood. Protect life whenever possible, even against the system. A chime sounded, soft and deliberate. It was different from the usual system alerts. Elias froze. The console displayed a priority channel. The call was not automated. It carried a human identifier. "Relay K47," the message began. Report situation. Immediate response required. Elias exhaled slowly. Human authorities had responded. He hesitated, knowing that the board's reply could either support him or condemn him. He glanced at the five. They were huddled near the observation window, watching the stars, unaware of the conversation he was about to have. He wanted to protect their hope, even if only a little longer. Not yet, he whispered to himself. They don't need to hear this yet. He typed a quick response. Awaiting instructions. Current station status stable, life form secured, further instructions requested. Then he waited. Minutes passed. Hours, it felt like. The aliens grew restless. Vesha approached him quietly. Will they take us? She asked. Her voice trembled slightly, betraying the worry she had been holding in. No, Elias said firmly. They know humans don't abandon life. Not lightly, they will not force us to return without discussion. That is the rule. Lyra looked skeptical. A rule, the galaxy has rules, they are strict, efficient, final. Elias smiled faintly. Humans argue about rules, we debate them, we challenge them. Sometimes we even break them, but we protect life first. That is our law beyond law. Nemi tilted her head. It sounds reckless. Maybe, Elias admitted. But the galaxy notices humans differently. We don't always follow the expected paths. Sometimes that makes others reconsider what is truly important. A second chime interrupted him. The coalition's scan, automated and now more persistent, had begun to encroach closer to the station's perimeter. Elias worked quickly to mask the life signs again, adjusting the station's energy shields and sensor fields. The five watched, curiosity and fear mingled on their faces. How do you do that? Talai asked, her voice small. Elias laughed quietly. Years of practice. And a lot of patience. Sale frowned. Patience? How can patience change the galaxy? Elias leaned back. It doesn't on its own, but combined with choice and action, patience can become power. You wait, you observe, you calculate, and then you act when it matters most. The scan passed. No detection. For the first time in cycles, Elias allowed himself a moment of relief, but the galaxy was already watching. Across countless light years, coalition authorities noticed anomalies in their data, unregistered energy signatures. 5 life signs moving independently. An unknown vessel surviving in forbidden space. Reports began to circulate quietly, then more urgently. Elias knew it was only a matter of time before the human channel opened again, not to ask, but to observe. That evening, the 5 aliens gathered around the observation window. The stars stretched endlessly, indifferent and distant. Elias joined them, resting his hands on the rail. You can see it, he said. The galaxy is not empty, but it is quiet. Most species never see something they are not supposed to see. Vesha whispered, and now they will. Yes, Elias said, soon, but this is not about hiding. This is about showing them what choice looks like. Lyra looked at him closely. What do you mean? Elias explained. Humanity has a rule no one else does. We argue for life, even when systems tell us not to, even when it costs us. The galaxy expects obedience. We show them compassion instead. That forces them to think, to question their own rules. Nemi's skin flickered softly. So you are risking everything to teach them? Not to teach them, Elias replied. To show them, to make sure someone alive has a chance, that is all. Hours passed. Conversation drifted into silence as the aliens tried to absorb the enormity of what Elias had done. They were beginning to understand that humans were different in a way that could not be measured by speed, strength, or technology. Humans could surprise the galaxy simply by acting on principle. Suddenly, a bright flash appeared on the observation screen. A small coalition survey vessel had arrived near the perimeter of the station's detection field. The 5 froze. Elias' hand rested on the console. They're here, he said, but do not panic, we are ready. The survey vessel did not approach aggressively. Instead, it maintained distance, scanning and observing. Elias watched carefully, adjusting the station's filters and shielding. The 5 aliens clustered close, silent and tense. After a long pause, the survey vessel transmitted a simple message. Unknown vessel detected. Life forms present, awaiting orders. Elias knew that those orders could take hours, days, or even longer, but the fact that the vessel hesitated gave him hope. They are forced to look, Elias whispered. They see us. They have to acknowledge that we exist. And humans chose to protect life. Talai's small voice broke the tension. So they cannot just ignore us anymore? No, Elias said. Not anymore. The aliens looked at him in wonder. They had been abandoned, discarded, and forgotten by their own societies. Now a human had created a situation where their lives mattered, not because of efficiency, not because of law, but because of deliberate, compassionate choice. Elias turned back to the stars. The galaxy believes that order is the highest value. But humanity shows them something else, that life itself can be the greatest law. Hours passed in quiet observation. The survey vessel maintained its distance, scanning and recording. Elias kept careful watch over the station, ensuring that no system failed, no life sign revealed. The 5 aliens, though tense, began to relax slightly, realizing that human determination was not just stubborn, it was enduring. By the end of the cycle, Elias allowed himself a small smile. The 5 aliens were safe for now, and for the first time they felt hope, not just for survival but for the possibility of choice. The galaxy had been forced to look. It had been forced to see life that it had intended to ignore. And humanity, even a single human alone on a distant relay, had demonstrated a rule no other species had: the courage to act when others abandoned hope. Elias knew the cost of saying yes would continue to rise. But for now, the 5 aliens were safe, and the stars outside K-47 seemed a little less cold. And in that quiet moment, the relay station, once lonely and forgotten, felt like the beginning of something new. Something that could change how the galaxy measured worth. Because one human had chosen to care, and that choice could not be ignored, Elias could feel it in every signal that pinged through the relay station. Not aggressive, not threatening, but observant, curious, calculating. Every fleet sensor, every monitoring satellite, every coalition AI that had access to this sector was now aware of 5 unregistered life forms sheltered inside a human-operated station. And in every system, they must have noted the same thing. The human protecting them had done so against protocol, against the rules, and yet, nothing had failed. He stood at the observation window, watching distant stars and the small blips of coalition patrols moving along prescribed routes. Behind him, the 5 aliens moved quietly, exploring the station that had become their temporary sanctuary. "You look tired," Lyra said softly. She had become more comfortable speaking human, and Elias appreciated that. "I am," he admitted, "but tired is fine. Tired means I'm still moving forward." The aliens watched him silently, learning from his resolve. Nemi's skin shifted a soft lavender hue, a sign of curiosity and cautious admiration. "Your species, you carry responsibility alone," she said, "even when you are not required to." "Yes," Elias said, "sometimes we do because no one else will." The station chimed again. A new signal. This one was human, but different, formal, high-level, from Earth Command itself. Elias tapped the console and opened the channel. A familiar voice filled the room. "Elias Ward, Relay K-47, we are aware of the 5 unregistered life forms under your protection. Status report required immediately." He paused. The 5 aliens gathered behind him, listening. Their expressions were tense, some afraid, some curious. Elias knew that their futures depended on how he responded. "Status is stable," he replied, keeping his voice calm. "All life signs are normal. The station is functioning within operational parameters. The 5 individuals are healthy and recovering from extended exposure and neglect." A brief silence then. "You are aware that this violates coalition protocol?" "Yes," Elias said. "I am also aware that humanity has a different perspective, that the coalition may consider life expendable if efficiency demands it. But I argue that life is not expendable. I have documented everything and sent it to the Human Interstellar Ethics Board for review." Behind him, the 5 aliens whispered among themselves. Elias did not interrupt. He wanted them to understand that humans had the power not only to follow rules, but to shape them when principles mattered more than efficiency. "Your actions are unprecedented," the voice continued. "We must discuss, be prepared for coalition contact, do not engage beyond necessary protection." "I understand," Elias said. "We will comply while maintaining life protection." He ended the communication and turned to the 5. Their eyes were wide, filled with awe and uncertainty. "Did they," Lyra began, "approve?" Elias shook his head. "No, they acknowledged it. They are observing, waiting to see what humans will do next." Sale crossed her arms. "So we are under scrutiny?" "Yes," Elias said, "but that's not bad. The galaxy is watching us. They are forced to see that life matters even when rules say it should not." Vesha tilted her head. It is unusual to act against protocol and be correct. Humans are often wrong, Elias said, but sometimes we are right, and when we are right, others have to notice. For the next cycle, the station became a hub of careful activity. Elias worked tirelessly to maintain energy shields, monitor life signs, and adjust communication filters. The 5 aliens followed his instructions closely, learning from him in ways that went beyond technology. They were learning human resolve, the quiet strength that did not rely on weapons or force but on determination, courage, and thought. Hours later, another transmission arrived, this time not from Earth but from the Coalition itself. A delegation ship had entered the outer perimeter. Its sensors and communications array were extensive. Elias watched the displays carefully as a holographic indicator showed the delegation's status, cautious but direct. "They are coming closer," Elias said softly. Talai stepped forward. "Will they punish you?" "No," Elias said firmly. "Not if we act correctly. They cannot deny that humans value life. That is what changes the game." The delegation made contact. A calm, authoritative voice spoke over secure channels. "Relay K-47. You have sheltered 5 individuals deemed expendable by Coalition doctrine. Explain your actions." Elias took a deep breath and began to speak slowly and deliberately. He spoke in human standard, careful to be clear. "I have done what humans do," he said. "I have protected life. These individuals were abandoned, deemed unnecessary, and left to drift without hope. Humanity has a principle: life is valuable. No one has the right to discard it for convenience. I have documented their status. I have preserved their health. I have ensured their safety, and I will continue to do so." A pause. Elias could almost hear the collective processing on the other side. "Your actions are unusual," the voice finally said. "The galaxy expects obedience, not mercy. You are an anomaly." Elias smiled faintly. "Then consider this. Sometimes anomalies show what is possible. Sometimes one human choice can force others to reconsider their rules." The 5 aliens exchanged glances. They had never heard words like these, words that meant humans did not just exist to obey laws. Humans acted because they chose to care. The delegation's voice continued. "Your actions have consequences. Coalition law may not forgive them. Yet, there is value in what you demonstrate. We will review all documentation before further action." Elias nodded. "Understood. My priority is life." The transmission ended. Lyra turned to him, her voice trembling slightly. You faced them, alone," Elias shrugged. "I am not alone. I have all of you, and I have humanity behind me even if they cannot respond immediately. That is enough." Nemi's skin shifted to a calm, soft blue. "Your strength is not like others, not forceful, not violent, but it moves things." "Yes," Elias said. "That is what humans do. We act in ways others do not expect. We protect. We fight not with weapons, but with choices. And sometimes that is stronger than any army." The 5 aliens looked at him with admiration and understanding. They were beginning to see the difference between survival and living. They had been surviving in exile, abandoned by their societies. Now, for the first time, they were alive. Alive because a human had chosen them. Alive because the galaxy was being forced to reconsider the value of life itself. Hours later, as the delegation withdrew temporarily, Elias allowed himself a quiet moment by the observation window. The 5 aliens settled nearby, no longer afraid, no longer uncertain. "You see," he said softly, "humans are not the strongest. We are not the fastest. We do not always have the best technology. But when we choose to act, when we choose life, we can change the galaxy." Talai smiled faintly. "You make it seem simple." Elias laughed quietly. "It is not simple, but it is worth it." Vesha whispered, "Then we are safe?" "For now," Elias said. "But more importantly, the galaxy knows we exist. They cannot ignore us, and each of you matter. That is the strength humans have that no one else does. The courage to care when everything says not to." The stars stretched endlessly beyond the window, indifferent and cold. But inside Relay Station K-47, warmth and life had returned. 5 aliens who had been abandoned, and 1 human who refused to leave them behind, had created a small but powerful revolution. The demonstration that life could be valued even when the rules of the galaxy said otherwise. And Elias, standing quietly among them, realized the truth he had always known but never fully felt. Humanity's greatest strength was not in force, not in speed, not in technology, but in the ability to act with conscience and courage, even when the entire galaxy expected him not. 2. The 5 aliens were no longer just survivors, they were witnesses, and through them, humanity's quiet, stubborn strength had reached farther than anyone had expected. The hum of relay station K-47 was no longer lonely. It was a soft, steady rhythm, like the pulse of life itself. Outside, the stars stretched endlessly, indifferent to the dramas unfolding in their light. Inside, however, 5 aliens and 1 human had created something extraordinary, a small pocket of hope in a galaxy that often forgot the value of life. Elias Ward stood at the central observation window, watching the distant coalition fleet slowly adjust its position. Their presence was careful, deliberate, but not hostile. The documentation he had sent, combined with his unwavering defense of the 5 aliens, had forced a conversation the galaxy could no longer ignore. And the aliens, once abandoned, had begun to grasp the scale of what was happening, not just their survival, but the power of choice and compassion. Lyra stepped beside him. Her silver-gray skin reflected the soft lights of the station. "Do you think they understand?" she asked softly. Elias shook his head. "Maybe not yet, but they're seeing it. That is the first step. Once the galaxy sees that humans value life above efficiency, it cannot look away." Vesha moved quietly to the other side. "You risked everything, alone, for us. Why?" she asked. He considered the question carefully. "Because no one else did, because I could, and because it is the right thing to do. That is all the reason a human needs." The 5 aliens exchanged glances. They were beginning to understand that humanity's strength was not in force, technology, or strategy, but in choice. The ability to act according to conscience, even when the odds were against them, even when rules dictated otherwise. That was power few species had ever seen. A chime sounded at the console. Elias walked over and activated the channel. This time, the communication came from a senior coalition delegation, a formal voice but tempered with something new, respect. "Relay K-47, your actions have been reviewed. The 5 individuals you protect are exceptional cases. Coalition doctrine allows for removal, but humanity's position is clear. Your species places value on life. That is unprecedented." The 5 aliens watched Elias closely. Their expressions were a mixture of awe and disbelief. Talai's small hands clenched into fists of quiet triumph. Elias took a deep breath. "We do. Life is valuable. Each life is a story, a potential, a contribution. That is how humans see the universe." A brief silence. Then the voice continued. "The coalition will permit continued shelter. Transfer is not required. We will discuss integration protocols for your species. Humans have demonstrated a different kind of strength." Lyra's eyes widened. "You mean we are safe? For now," Elias said. "And more than safe, you are recognized. You are alive not because of rules, but because someone chose to protect you." Sale tilted her head, trying to comprehend. "So our lives actually matter?" "Yes," Elias said, "and the galaxy is beginning to see it too." For a long while, silence filled the room. The 5 aliens looked at one another, slowly understanding what had happened. They had survived not because their societies valued them, not because they were efficient or exceptional, but because humans saw worth where others did not. That was a lesson the galaxy would not forget. Days passed, and the station became more than a temporary refuge. Elias worked with the aliens to repair their small ship, integrate human systems, and optimize the relay's sensors to ensure both safety and stability. The 5 adapted quickly. They were no longer frightened or hesitant. They moved with purpose and confidence. Nemi's skin shifted to a soft, calm blue. "We are learning from you," she said quietly. "Not just technology, but determination, courage, perspective." Elias smiled. "That is human. We teach without always intending to, and sometimes we learn from those we protect." The relay's communications continued to bring updates. Coalition representatives contacted Elias for progress reports, always professional but increasingly collaborative. For the first time, he realized that the galaxy was not as rigid as it seemed. Rules could be questioned, doctrines could be reconsidered, and life could be valued, if someone was brave enough to show the way. Weeks passed. The 5 aliens began taking on small tasks around the station. Vesha monitored environmental systems. Lyra helped Elias document the station logs. Sale managed energy output, and Nemi assisted with sensor calibration. Talai, small but precise, coordinated communication protocols. Each contribution, small on its own, was a lesson in cooperation, resilience, and the human principle. Everyone can contribute, even when the system says otherwise. Elias watched them work. "You're not just surviving anymore," he said softly. "You're thriving." And that matters as much as anything else. Outside, coalition ships observed but did not interfere. Elias knew the galaxy was learning, watching, adjusting. Recognizing that humans had a rule no one else did, a willingness to fight for life, not for conquest, not for efficiency, but for principle. Then, one morning, the communication channel opened again. A human delegation spoke this time, their tone formal but celebratory. "Elias Ward, Relay K-47. Your actions have inspired a review of interstellar rescue protocols. Humanity's standard for life preservation will be presented to the coalition. Your courage has demonstrated that a single human choice can influence entire doctrines." The 5 aliens were stunned. Their eyes went wide. Elias turned to them. "Do you see?" he asked. "The galaxy is changing because humans chose life." Talai's voice was barely audible. "We never imagined this could happen, not to us, not because of one person." "It happens," Elias said, "because humans act even when expected not to, because we see life and we refuse to leave it behind." Lyra stepped forward. "Then we are not just safe, we are witnesses, and part of this change?" "Yes," Elias said, "and you will continue to see it." The galaxy has been forced to acknowledge that life matters, not rules, not efficiency. Life. The 5 stood silently, absorbing the meaning. They had been discarded, abandoned, and forgotten. Now, through one human's choice, they were alive, recognized, and even part of something greater than themselves. Elias returned to the observation window, looking out at the stars. The relay, once a lonely outpost, had become a beacon, a doorway, not just in space, but in principle. A demonstration that even small choices could influence the course of the galaxy. The 5 aliens joined him, their presence no longer hesitant but confident. Elias placed a hand on the rail between them. "Your lives were never meaningless," he said softly. "And now the galaxy knows it. That is the human way. We do not abandon, we do not ignore, we act, even when it is difficult, even when no one else would." Vesha whispered, "You make it sound simple." Elias smiled. "It is simple, hard, yes, but simple. Care, protect, choose life. That is strength humans have that others rarely do." The station hummed around them, steady and unwavering. The stars stretched endlessly, and the galaxy continued its indifferent rhythm. Yet inside Relay Station K-47, 5 aliens and 1 human had created a small revolution, a quiet but powerful demonstration that humanity's choices could redefine entire doctrines. Weeks turned into months. The aliens learned, adapted, and grew. The relay became a hub not just for observation, but for understanding. Coalition representatives visited, curious and respectful, witnessing the human principle firsthand. And everywhere the story spread quietly. Humans did not always obey. Humans protected life, even at risk. Humans had a rule no one else did, and sometimes one human choice could change the galaxy. One evening, as the stars shimmered beyond the observation window, Talai spoke softly. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked Elias. "Never," he said, "because it was the right thing to do and because I could." Lyra smiled faintly. "Then humanity is more than technology or power. You are something else entirely." "Yes," Elias said, looking out at the stars. "We are stubborn, compassionate, resilient, and we refuse to leave anyone behind." The 5 aliens stood beside him, no longer afraid, no longer uncertain. They had survived the impossible. They had been rescued, protected, and acknowledged. And through one human's choice, the galaxy had been forced to see that life, no matter how small, abandoned, or overlooked, was worth saving. The relay station, once the loneliest outpost, had become a doorway. Not just to safety, but to understanding. Not just for 5 aliens, but for an entire galaxy learning a new principle. That life, above all else, could not be ignored when humans were involved. And Elias, watching the stars, felt a quiet pride. Humanity had not conquered planets or fleets. Humanity had done something more powerful. They had proven that one human, acting with conscience and courage, could change everything. And the 5 aliens, Lyra, Nemi, Sail, Vesha, and Talai, stood alive and free, living proof that humanity's greatest strength was not in what it could destroy, but in what it could protect. The relay hummed. The stars shone. And the galaxy, for the first time, had to reckon with a truth it had long forgotten. Humanity cared. Humanity acted. and humanity's choice could not be ignored.